We are here. It is the final game of the Premier League season, and from where I've been sitting, this has definitely been one of the most exciting Premier Leagues in living memory. Not just the top of the league, not just the fight for European football, but even the mid-table scramble, as well as the usual relegation dogfight. There's been storylines, there's been controversy, there's been ups and downs all over the table every single weekend from start to finish. And as we get into the last game of the season, it is going to be no different at all. In the video today, we'll be previewing the entire slate of final Premier League games and doing score predictions for them all at any point in the video today. If you do enjoy anything, you laugh, you learn, you like something, you know, that kind of thing, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support, guys. So if you enjoy the content here for more stuff like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and get into the comment section on this one and let me know what are going to be the twists and the turns on the final day of the season. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. I think the best place for me to start with this one has to be Tottenham Hotspur and Ange Postecoglou, because the Tottenham fans are absolutely losing their mind at the response, at the reaction that Ange has given them after them wanting to lose against Man City. And, you know, I don't think there's any excuse in it. I don't think there's any reality where you can hold on to that point of view. You can hold on to that stance and see your club progress. You need to get this Spursy stuff off of you. And this attitude, this point of view is fundamentally what that, you know, for me, not being a Spurs fan, not being in England, that really does seem to be like an epicenter of that kind of problem that's at the club in terms of aspirations and the real lack of, you know, competitive winning mentality, as it were. And before we get into a little preview for their first game, I seen this morning and it absolutely stopped me in my tracks. I don't think Tottenham Hotspur fans are cognizant right now of the fact that Ange Postecoglou has been in Glasgow for 2 seasons at the helm of Celtic against Rangers, the biggest derby in world football, the most ferocious derby in world football, bar none. So, you know, there's some lovely comments that came along with this post. I would love to hear what Tottenham fans have got to say to excuse this, to Ange, to themselves, to justify it. And I can tell you as a Celtic fan, like, there's no chance I'm taking a loss to stop Rangers doing something or whatever, because that's one of the key parts of your rivalry. Is like, if your rival is weak or not a worthy opponent, a good measuring stick for success, then it's not really a rivalry, is it? It's not really a derby as such. And as I say that, I'm kind of thinking back to, you know, the early emergence of Man City. You know, Man United never considered them a rival or whatever, because why bother? They were so far beneath them. And it does feel like Tottenham, like, if you're going to have Arsenal's failure be your success, it really does put a ceiling on not just what can be achieved, what should be achieved, but really the, you know, how far a team can go, really, to be quite honest with you. Because Tottenham fans were loving the content on the channel when we were talking about, wow, there might be a wee sneaky title fight here for Spurs. Maybe they should be securing top 4 in Ange's first season, which would have been absolutely stellar. So I think you've got to trust the big man. You've got to buy into it a little bit more, and you've got to try and get this Spursy crap off of you and move forward as Tottenham Hotspur, an independent club that has a rival that, if they do well, brilliant, but we're just going to have to try and do better than them. That's the level of, you know, competition. That's the sort of standards that I think Ange and the Tottenham fans are and should be striving towards. And that takes us onto the Premier League table, because Tottenham right now are sitting in 5th, and it is really knife-edge stuff. Chelsea's form has come out of nowhere to put a lot of pressure on those top 4, top 5 positions. Aston Villa, of course, are secure in their position now, but Tottenham against Sheffield United probably couldn't have wished for a better game to finish the season off, to secure that 5th spot and crown off what is a wildly successful first season for Ange in the Premier League in North London. No Harry Kane. I know they spent a lot on transfers, but really the squad hasn't really evolved or developed. And with the form Sheffield United have been in recently, conceding 3, 4, 5 goals a game, easy peasy, no problem at all. Despite Tottenham's like injury worries and, like, you know, how thin the squad actually is, this is a game that I see Tottenham and Ange coming into really with the fire under their seat, going to put on a big performance, a big result, to really try and, you know, underline what it is they're trying to move towards, to underline what it is they're trying to achieve. And I think this could be low-key sneaky the highest scoring game of the weekend, potentially. Sheffield United at home, their last game in the Premier League for maybe the foreseeable future. You've got to imagine they go for it. Maybe they get a goal. I wouldn't rule that out necessarily, but I don't think it's likely. But I do think Tottenham are going to start the game hot. They're going to come out the traps firing, and they're going to get a couple of goals nice and quickly. And then as the game goes on, it is going to be a taste of, motivation levels, energy levels, which I don't think Ange is going to let drop in this game. He will want to put on his kind of show in this game to really show to everyone out there the direction of travel he's trying to move in. So I think Tottenham could easily win this game 4-0. Sadly for Newcastle, losing to Man United, it feels like the chance to maybe spoil Tottenham's party and get into that top 5, which was almost within grasp there for Newcastle for a minute or two, is now gone. Now they're trying to hang on to the coattails of Chelsea and secure 6th position, Newcastle have had a great season. They've had so many hurdles and obstacles to overcome all the way back to the beginning of the year with Tonali, the injury crisis, the Champions League fixture piling up. There's been so much going against Newcastle constantly this year, and I have become a huge admirer of Eddie Howe and his team for the perseverance, the tactical nous, and the results they've managed to get. And I've not been Eddie Howe's biggest fan since getting the Newcastle job, just to put that out there. But I do feel this final game of the season, going away to Brentford, who in the league at the moment aren't really got anything to worry about. They're going to be the Prem next year. They can't really climb any higher. But with them being at home, you've got to imagine that they, again, want to finish the season off in some sort of style. Give their fans something to cheer about. Give their fans something to be positive about before going into the summer and ahead of the new season. Newcastle's away form has been notably much worse than the home form. And I think that does open this tie up a little bit, because looking at the table, Newcastle will need to get a victory. And then you're really hoping that Chelsea drop points, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll come to that shortly. But I do feel that Newcastle, it's like, will we get into 6th or not? I think a big part of the motivation will be keeping ahead of Man United, who are joint on points now with Newcastle, because I don't think you want Man United finishing above you. I think that would be a tad embarrassing and give the season a real different, kind of finishing flavour, as it were, that it doesn't deserve. I think Newcastle deserve to finish 6th, maybe even 5th. Considering everything that they've been riding through. And Thomas Frank and Brentford, for all the praise and all the credit I can give Eddie Howe and his team for tactical nous and game management and all the rest of it, that's something that we've come to know from Brentford in their time in the Premier League has been pretty good at. We've not seen it too much this year, granted, but I do think that this is a game where there's no pressure. They'll be swinging for the fences and they'll be absolutely going for it. They don't have too many goals in their locker, but Brentford, which I think does put a limit on how well they can do in this game. And there's still some injury concerns for Newcastle around the best 11. Is Anthony Gordon going to make it? Probably does, but I know there's some question marks here and there. I think Brentford are definitely scoring in this game, whether it is Pope or Dubravka. There's just so much kind of twists and turns with the defence, the back line at the moment. I think Brentford get a goal in this one, but I do think Newcastle will go on and get the win. And Newcastle punch in bunches. They won't score 1, they won't score 2. I think they're going to go and get 3 in this one. And Man United themselves are very close to pulling off a bit of a great escape from mid-table mediocrity and like a real non-event of a season, maybe one of their worst seasons in living memory. And maybe they could get themselves into those European positions ahead of a cup final they're probably going to lose, after getting a pretty good result against a Newcastle team that I thought they had no chance against. Their final game is away to Brighton, who again, similar to some of these other mid-table teams, really just don't really have much on the line. Their position in the table is pretty set. They can't overtake West Ham. They're just really looking to stay ahead of Bournemouth, Palace, maybe Wolves, depending on how results actually shake out. But Brighton will want to finish 10th. It's pretty much there for them to be getting. And Brighton, although they've not been on great form in general, they've not had a great season. The last 3 results, only losing to Chelsea by 2-1, drawing with Newcastle at St James's Park, and beating Aston Villa by 1-0, tells me that Brighton have got their shit together, that they can keep the game tight, they can play tactically well, and they can take their opportunities when they come. These are things that we've not really been able to say about Man United this season, and I don't think that's going to change come this weekend. I think Brighton can score 1 goal in this game very, very comfortably, and just for the way Man United tend to go, defensive weaknesses and all that kind of stuff, I think Brighton could get a second, no problem at all. The question is going to be the clean sheet or not, with the likes of Verbruggen really coming into a bit of a game at the moment. He's now in the Dutch national team ahead of the Euros, which will be very exciting for him. But Man United's away games do consistently hit over 2.5 goals. They do end up being quite high scoring affairs. And I don't think it's really going to be down to them that brings it into over 2.5 goals. I think it'll be Brighton. So I'm going to go with Brighton to win this one 2-1. So if we have Tottenham winning, we have Newcastle winning, and we have Man United losing, that means all the pressure is on Chelsea to keep ahead of Newcastle. And, if the Tottenham result doesn't go the way I expect it does, can they get closer to Tottenham? And their opponent really is the yin and yang in this one, because Chelsea, their season has been crap and got gradually better through the season, whereas now, like, Pochettino is starting to look like a Premier League manager with the results and the form that he's managed to craft out of this Chelsea team by hook or by crook. I'm still not totally convinced. Against a Bournemouth team who also started kind of bad, but very little resources with good tactical management from their manager. They've had a real ascendancy through the season, so much so that Andoni Iraola has been nominated. He's not going to win it for Manager of the Year. And I think this is a great battle of two clubs in two very different positions, and it's a real contrast of, working with players, developing a system and an idea, versus going out into the market and buying everyone that was labelled a wonder kid on Football Manager for 50 million or above. The style of play and the formation that Chelsea are likely to take into this game, for me, really does play into Bournemouth's hands and vice versa. I think this is going to be an all-action affair, because Bournemouth themselves, in 11th at the moment, if they did secure the points in this one that they need to finish 10th, that would be a huge feather in the cap of the club, of Andoni Iraola individually, and give them real confidence and hope going into next season that they've got something to build on. They're actually building a Premier League outfit at Bournemouth that can actually begin to challenge the top half of the table and maybe emulate what we've seen the likes of, Brighton, Brentford and whatever else do over the last couple of years. So I think there's high motivation for both teams in this game, which we can't say for all matches this weekend. And I think this will be one of the more exciting games that we see. Chelsea at home, I think, are going to be very good to score a good couple of goals in this one. Christopher Nkunku coming back into the starting lineup, I think, is going to be a low-key elite addition into the team that I think everyone is kind of forgetting that he's been there. Having watched him kind of develop in Germany the 3 seasons beforehand, and Nkunku should and could and will be one of the most formidable attacking players in the Premier League when fit and firing and fully integrated into this Chelsea team. And I think seeing him alongside the likes of Cole Palmer from the beginning of this game, Chelsea will go and score a good couple of goals in this one. Of that, I have almost no doubt. And Bournemouth, with the likes of Solanke, the pace they've got in attack, and even the likes of Enes Ünal that are in their ranks as well, they're not coming into this game without teeth, without firepower themselves. But I do think Chelsea are just going to edge this one by 3-2. Now, it has been party time at Villa Park. Champions League football has been secured. Unai Emery, Monchi, the whole team there have job done. Couldn't believe it's happened this season. And I think we were all singing their praise and giving them the plaudits come Christmas time for being the best team in the calendar of 2023. Yeah, there was some bumps in the way. There was a semi-final that didn't go so well, but it is firmly party time in Aston Villa. And their opponents, Crystal Palace, I think for both of these teams, there's nothing on the line, really. It is the biggest nothing burger, really, of a fixture this weekend, but it's probably the most exciting nothing burger of a game we're going to have, because Ole Glasner's Crystal Palace are the wildcard team, and I know there's nothing really for them to play for. The manager, the players individually have got a lot to play for. There's a lot of progress, there's a lot of development happening there. Maybe there's some summer transfers for outgoings and maybe some target analysis for incomings, that this sort of game against a top opposition like Aston Villa will really inform Ole Glasner and the team at Crystal Palace. Unai Emery and the guys at Villa won't want to be coming into this game with mad hangovers like John McGinn might have, and finish the season with a whimper. I think there's going to be a lot of motivation from both teams to come into this game and get a famous result. Crystal Palace is famously one of the best home fixtures, or one of the best home stadiums, home venues in the Premier League. And I think this is, like I said earlier, low-key potentially one of the most exciting games we could see this season, because there's no pressure on either team to go and need the points, but it's about celebrating the situation they're in. Go and put a performance on for the fans. Go and show us what you've got. And then we get into the summer, we rest, we regroup, and we go ahead for next season. The form Palace have been in at the moment, I cannot see them scoring less than 2 goals at the moment. And Aston Villa, all season long, have been scoring free for fun against all comers, home and away. They've been doing it time and time again. but I do feel that this is going to end in a draw, so I'm going to go for this to be Crystal Palace 3, Aston Villa 3. Now, I think at this point we all feel a little bit bad for Luton. They gave it their all, they really swung for the fences, they really went for it, but sadly it was close but no cigar. They will be relegated, they're going back to the Championship, and hey, they've got reason to celebrate. They've had a great time, they've made themselves proud, I would say. And at Kenilworth Road this weekend, they're welcoming Fulham for a bit of a London derby as their final game in the Premier League for probably the foreseeable future. This is a game that really has nothing on the line, similar to maybe the Palace Aston Villa game and one or two others. But I think the Luton fans, especially the Luton team at home, have got a lot to sing about, a lot to be happy about. And this is one of these non-event games that I think Luton could probably seize the day with. And Fulham cannot break into the top 10, cannot really improve their situation on the table by much. And I think the overall motivation of the game for the Luton fans wanting to at least say, hey, we done it, we tried our best, and good luck to the players that might not be with us next year, and well done Rob Edwards for the effort he's put in. And I think this is going to be a game that will favour Luton. They are in really horrible form. There's no getting around that. At home, they've been consistently good for scoring goals. And against the teams that do like to come out and play football, like Fulham do, Luton have been okay to get a goal or two. I don't think that's out of the question. But Fulham, I don't think their attack will be stopped. I think they will get a goal in this one. But I do believe that Luton are going to get the victory and make it look even tighter on that relegation fight than what it does currently. And you never know what happens in the summer, maybe with some points deductions and some of the other crap that's going on. Nothing would surprise me at this point, and I don't think they're going to completely give up the ghost until, the chapter is closed, the book is closed, as it were. So I'm going to go for Luton to win this by 2-1. And then we have Burnley, who kind of huffed and puffed and never really got anywhere this season. They're relegated, they're gone. They're playing Nottingham Forest, who have just hung on by the skin of their teeth. Now, you never know what's going to happen. I think every point is still a prisoner for Nottingham Forest. And I think they come into this game thinking, we need the 3 points to make sure we've got as many points on the board, as many goals as we can possibly get onto the goal difference as possible, because you just never know what the hell is going to happen with all these regulations and points deductions, everything that's been happening this season with appeals and reappeals and all that caper. So I do feel that Nottingham Forest have got a lot of talent, a lot of firepower that I've been really enjoying seeing in small glimpses this season. Morgan Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and one or two others. So I do feel that they're going to come into this game motivated to win, not giving up on, hey, we're safe. I don't think that's quite there yet in their mindset. But Burnley, again, similar to a few of the other teams that are relegated, this is their last game at home. Who knows if they'll be back in the Premier League the season after next. And, Vincent Kompany and the guys, they'll want to put on a bit of a show and show the style of football they've been trying to foster at the club and they're trying to develop, and maybe they'll have another shot at doing in this kind of next iteration that they have. Burnley have not been letting anyone away with a clean sheet in recent months, so I do think Burnley are good for a goal here. Against the Nottingham Forest team, who are 4th bottom, Burnley could get 2 at home in this one. I don't see that being out of the question. And I do think Forest will be motivated. Like I said, I think they've got the firepower to hurt Burnley, to get the goals. And I think, 3-2 to Nottingham Forest feels like probably the way this could shake out. Maybe it's a 2-2, maybe it's a Desmond, maybe it's a bit of a draw. But I think I'm going to go for 3-2 to Forest. I think the likes of Gibbs, White, etc. are just a cut above what Burnley have at the moment. And Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp will feel pretty gutted, I think, looking at the Premier League table before his final game in charge. Thoroughly disconnected from the remaining leg of the title race, if you can think of it like that. City 2 points ahead, obviously. But Liverpool were making this a 3-horse race, and I think Klopp, been in his last season, would have wanted Liverpool second first. Of course he would have. And I think the points difference now, that will make him angry. I think that will make him sad. But it's his last game at Anfield, and they're playing a Wolves team who have been screwed this season by VAR, by rest, by injuries, by all sorts of stuff. And Gary O'Neill has won lots of plaudits this year. For me, he's been one of the most impressive managers in the Premier League this year. And I don't think they'll be giving up the ghost. I don't think they'll be just showing up to make the numbers at Anfield against Liverpool. And that then gives the recipe for a really entertaining affair. Klopp and all the Liverpool players will want to have that celebration at the end of the game, that, legendary exit, because he is now a bit of a Premier League legend. And I know he's only won 1 Premier League, he's not as many as some other people, whatever. But honestly, you've got to look at the man's career at Liverpool and give him his due. Thoroughly a Premier League legend, thoroughly a Premier League manager. Hall of Famer type, level of a guy. No two ways about it for me. And Wolves down in 13th, if they did collect 3 points, there's a bit of a squeak that maybe they could finish top 10. I don't really think it's going to happen because the 3 teams above them Surely one of them gets a draw, maybe one of them gets a victory, and it probably keeps Wolves out of the top 10. Now, I made a few predictions today that I think, oh, maybe this game could be the highest score, maybe this one. This one definitely has everything. Wolves have got firepower, they've got motivated players that will want to be secure in their position at the Wolves team for next season, or maybe even a transfer into the summer, because Wolves have had some high-level performers, particularly in the attacking positions. I don't think Liverpool score any less than 2 goals in this one. I could see them even getting as many as 3 or 4 with the crowd behind them, with that Sunday, last game of the season atmosphere. But I do think Wolves are going to make it hard for them. I don't know if they get more than 1 goal in this one, but I do think Wolves are going to score. So I'm going to take Liverpool to win this one by 4 goals to 1. And then we get to the main event. It's a title decider on the last game of the season. Now, City are in cruise control. They are in pole position, 2 points ahead. A draw pretty much should be enough for them. But Arsenal will not be thinking about that. They'll be trying to tune out the noise, and they'll be thinking about Man City winning the league at QPR on the final day with the last minute goal and all that kind of stuff. And I do believe that's the angle of approach, that's the attitude that Mikel Arteta's Arsenal will be coming into this game. But against Sean Dyche's Everton, who, despite the points deductions, are nowhere near relegation. They're kind of there's a few teams that have been really hard done to this season. I think Everton have got a credible case for saying it's them. And I think Sean Dyche and his team will definitely be thinking, hey, if we go to Arsenal and we get a famous result, it'll make everyone else stand up and take notice of everything we've had to go through this season and how well we're actually doing, and how really Everton are the only club in world football that can say the league doesn't reflect how good we've been this year because of everything that's been on with it. So it's a wee bit of underestimate Everton at your peril for me. But ultimately, the high-flying Arsenal in full form and full flight, the situation they've got themselves into, I do believe they're going to be borderline unstoppable. I don't know if they're going to score a hatful of goals against this Everton team, to be honest with you. I do believe they're going to get the clean sheet, but I'm not sure if Everton can break the dam. But I'm going to go for Arsenal to win this. I want to say 2-0, but as I'm thinking about how the game goes, the fans, the atmosphere, a City are drawn at half-time, or maybe a goal goes against them early on. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Arsenal. I think the fans can make a big difference in this one. And for a final game title decider, I don't think there's many opponents in the Premier League that Man City would want to play as much as West Ham, because West Ham, quite famously, quite formidably, have been a bit of a whipping boy for Man City. It does feel like David Moyes' men haven't really had much of an answer to Pep Guardiola's monster football machine, and Arsenal fans are almost reading the writing on the wall a little bit with this one. Man City at home, final day of the season, with everything to be won, for Guardiola to be the first guy to win 4 Premier Leagues in a row. I do feel the weight, the strength of history is all in Man City's favour. It is theirs to lose. Similarly to a few of the other teams in here, I do feel that City start this game really quickly, try and get the lead control of the match. And in West Ham, I can see them clocking off not too long after that. And City really could score any number of goals in this one. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. But I think, West Ham as well, they do have a couple of players that are quite talented. Maybe 1 or 2 of them fancy a move to Man City. A lot of them will be in the shop window now that David Moyes is leaving and Julian Lopetegui's coming in. It's going to be a real handover, passing of the guard situation at West Ham. So I do feel that, City get a goal or 2 quick enough, West Ham will be checking out of this one. Maybe they'll get a goal against a run of play, maybe from a set piece, maybe a penalty or something like that. And I do think I got it right the other week there when I said someone would get a hat-trick. I think City are getting a hat-trick in this one. And then, there's going to be a couple other players getting on in the act. I'm going to go for City to win this convincingly. I'm going to go for a 6-1.